For the last week, I've been recording from Diddy's jail cell. I'm attorney Simone, your legal bestie, and this is, girl, is that legal? Now, I had to change up the background, so I apologize for that delay. Today's episode is called Sunday Service. So on Sundays, I try to come on and allow you guys to call in with your legal questions. I get a plethora of questions all throughout the week, often DM to me and different things like this. So this is my opportunity to answer some questions that you guys have. Now, to start off, don't forget, you can always schedule, if you'd like to schedule a consultation with me, you can go to my website, which is simoneredwine.com. You can also go there and order my book. It's an ebook called Background Checks 101, the beginner's guide to finding out who the heck you're really dealing with. And then you can scroll up to this top section here that says book hire attorney Simone, and consultations with me start at $149 for 30 minutes. So we will go ahead and, oops, here we go. Pull that on down. So let me see. Oh, we got some questions. Hit that like as you guys come on in. That tells Instagram to suggest this to others. Now, I also dropped a link. It's the first comment if you scroll all the way up. If you'd like to call in with your question, all you got to do is click that link at the top of this chat. You can be anonymous, and you don't have to turn on your camera. So when you put in, it makes you put in a name. You can put in anonymous if you like, and you don't have to turn your camera on. Or if we don't get any calls this week, which is totally fine, I had a pre-submitted question, and I'm gonna answer today because I keep getting different variations of this question over and over and over. Okay. Hey, Flip Virgo. Heather, I see you're there from Raleigh, North Carolina. Ooh, Pisces says, why is it so hard to hit that like? Happy Sunday, y'all. Hey, I beat a shit. I know how to say your name right, but I can't say it the right way. Shit. For Instagram purposes. YouTube purposes. Nicole's got a question. Can you sue unemployment or your employer for a stressful, unsafe work environment? I have videos and pictures. Of course you can, as you should. Yeah, I think, and Nicole, you're a beautiful woman. I think frequently it's like sometimes the situations on your job can be so tough to where it's almost like they intentionally want you to quit, like they push you to quit. And I tell, especially people of color all the time, don't you dare quit. Instead of quitting, you can do something that's called, basically, you're going to apply for stress leave. Now, one of the things that's required is you have to go to a therapist of some sort to get a written doctor's note that says, my patient needs to go on leave as a result of the hostile and stressful work environment. I am diagnosing her. I'm diagnosing her with, not diagnosing her. They don't necessarily need to know your diagnosis, but they do need to know the amount of time off that's needed. And what's cool about that process is you then get compensated to not come to work under workers' compensation law. So the same law that would apply and protect you if you worked in a factory and a box, fell on your foot and broke it, and would obviously compensate you, is the same thing that applies when your job has created mental or emotional stressful factors. So that is basically the step one. And I always say, I had someone recently watched an episode where I gave that advice. And one of the things that really made me happy is they followed up with me weeks later and said, hey, I took your advice. I filed the necessary complaint. I went on my stress leave. When I did, 4 other women in my department did too. Because here's what happens. Because it triggers workers' compensation insurance. One thing insurance companies don't like is to have to pay. So when you get 4 workers' compensation claims for the same thing in a given month, what happens is they then go and assess that business unit and say, hold on, what's going on over here that is causing these claims? In the same way that if you had 4 auto accident claims in a month, right? Your insurance company is going to be like, wait a minute, what's going on here? And they're going to make and demand a change. So in this instance, they demand the removal of that boss. They demanded their removal because that person was causing them to have to pay out workers to not come to work. So Yes, when you have a stressful environment, that absolutely is what you should do. Don't you dare quit. Instead, you want to exercise those steps. And the same type of attorneys, like a workers' compensation attorney, can work you through that. Nicole says, I saw EAP, HR wouldn't allow me. Wouldn't allow what? I don't know. EAP is if it's offered for your company, it's for everyone. So I don't know what they wouldn't allow, but HR told you to quit. Great. Well, then that's HR told you to quit. Well, then it sounds like you need to talk to an employment lawyer, then, girl. Hmm. I would also talk to a workers' compensation lawyer because remember, that is part of a workers' compensation claim. The reason they wanted you to quit is they wanted you to quit because if they quit, they don't have to pay you out. As long as you're there, they have to pay you under workers' compensation, as long as the doctor is continuing to prescribe this treatment. Okay, let's see. You did it June 7th. You have everything. Oh, let me see your leave. Hold on. You did all of that. Hold on. You were saying, oh, you went on leave, is what you're saying you did. Yep. So if I were you, HR wouldn't allow you. Oh, HR wouldn't let you take leave. That's not optional. It's not. Well, you know what? You could have some specific factors. So, for example, if you were a brand new employee, if you were less than 90 days, so I'm not sure of that, which brings me to my disclaimer. So, my disclaimer is this is for entertainment purposes only. I recommend that you always consult with a lawyer in your state with regarding your specific facts. This is for entertainment purposes. My goal is to help start the conversation on these different legal issues and legal matters. All right. It said, yesterday a jurist asked for status on the inmate who secured the $100 million judgment. Sure. This is in reference to Diddy's lawsuit. So, Heather, the question on the floor, y'all, is, hey, what's the deal with the Diddy's $100 million lawsuit that was the default was granted in favor of the inmate? So there was an inmate who sued Diddy, claiming that back in the 90s, Diddy fondled his booty and did stuff to him, and that he wanted to sue for $100 million. That inmate then claimed that he actually served Diddy. Diddy didn't respond. And then that's how he got his $100 million judgment. Well, Diddy's lawyers were victorious. They got that judgment completely set aside and the case thrown out. Here's why. Statute of limitations. So when you want to get a default set aside, what you have to show is that if we reinstate this case for the defendant, so the defendant has to show this. The defendant has to show that if the case is reinstated to give you a chance to fight, that you have a chance of winning. Not only was Diddy's a lawyer able to show that, because what they said was, Your Honor, based on this inmate's own declarations, own documents, the own thing, his own words, this happened in the 90s. The statute of limitations is like 2-3 years for Michigan. So there's no way he could be victorious on this case. That was true. So the judge said, all right, not only are we removing the restraining order, which was preventing Diddy from using his properties for bond, but it also dismissed, it either has or will dismiss the entire case against Diddy. So in other words, Diddy won. So I hope that helps. All right. And then we've got another one. It says, Simone, do you know what could happen if someone uses an FHA loan but doesn't actually live in the home due to unforeseen circumstances? They actually rented the home out instead. Yes, this is a great question. So what it turns on is fraud. Also, it's my understanding that you have to live there at least 12 days of a given year when you first get the house. So, for example, my house that I'm in now, I bought it, I lived in it a while, and then I Airbnb'd it. It's not requiring that forever you never rent it out, including, let me give you this example. I bought my first house in Uptown Dallas, right, which is like party central now for Dallas. Buy all the bars, walking distance to the bars, clubs, all of that. And then when I got my Houston, and that was on an FHA loan, when I got my Houston property, they did not require me to sell my property because I was able to show that I could rent it out and make income, enough income where they were like, you're good, you don't need to sell it. So I still have that FHA loan, and I have the FHA loan on my Houston property that I live in. So the issue is, what was your intent? Now, if you use a FHA loan with the purpose to only rent it out to someone else, no, you can't do that. But here's what's unique. You can get an FHA loan knowingly and Airbnb it because if the other alternate days, right, that it's not rented, it's your residence. You can totally do that. So the issue is that what was the intention? What was the fraud? And as you said here, it was unforeseen circumstances. So that sounds to me like it wasn't fraud. Something happened subsequent. So that's totally acceptable. The bigger issue and what you never want to have is you don't want to leave a property vacant for more than 30 days. Because when that happens, it actually invalidates the homeowner's policy in most states, under most insurance policies. That's because when a property is vacant for 30 days, it's more likely to be subjected to theft, break-ins, and those kinds of things. So if that person was in a financial bind, it's better to get someone in. And again, it's my understanding that you only have to live in that house at least 12 days a year for it to be considered yours. And then you want to keep it on your taxes as your primary residence too. Got it. Somebody said, pass the collection plate on this good Sunday service. Yes, super chats. You can hit me up on Miss Redwine, MISS Redwine. And y'all, this one that we let me see. All right, this question that we had today, I think you guys are gonna really like it. We're about to jump into it now. And I hear it too damn often. Too doggone often. Sorry, you got me kissing. So today's question on the floor that we're going to answer for Sunday service, I don't see anyone that's like called in or tapped in, which is fine, is we're dealing with HBCU financial aid drama. Okay, if you went to HBCU in the chat, let us know down below in the chat. You can let us know which HBCU you went to, or I know if you have a friendly friend or a loved one, you've probably heard of this. So what's going on here is this is an anonymous parent. I'm not going to state what school it is. So for those of y'all want to be over there messy, because the truth of the matter is this happens at all of the schools. Now, I personally am only aware of this drama happening in HBCUs, but it's entirely possible that it could happen at majority white schools too. The gist of it is this. They playing with these people money, and I'm sick of it. I have heard too many stories of people who were doing well in college, but then their financial aid department at their college kept messing with their money to where they were unable to finish either at all or on time, or they had to transfer, or a bunch of other things. I can personally say my grandpa, he went to, my grandpa would be over 100 years old today, right? He'd be like about 110 years old. And Papa Martin loved him some Hampton. That is where he went. He went there on scholarship for the first 2 years. He showed up his junior year, and he was a janitor. That's how he would help pay his tuition, the balance of his tuition. He was a janitor, and I'll never forget the story of him telling me about how he took the bus from the San Antonio area, which is where he was from. He took the bus all the way over to Hampton, Virginia. It was multiple days. Back then, although he had blue eyes and light hair, he was still black. And so some black people knew he was black, but white people didn't necessarily know. But there were no hotels that would house him. So he literally at night, he would have to sleep. He had to sleep in the jail in the Hampton, Virginia area. They had a jail. I think it was like Norfolk. He had to sleep in the jail overnight until school was open the next day. He gets to school. He's all ready for his junior semester, only for them to do what? F with his financial aid, mess with his financial aid. Okay. Even 100 years ago, they were messing with people's financial aid. They told him, oh, he said, yeah, I'm here to report in for my scholarship. They were like, oh, you don't have a scholarship this year. He said, what? He had top honors, all of those things. They said, oh no, we've decided we only want to give that scholarship to freshmen and sophomores. So you're going to need to come up with, however many hundreds of dollars it was back in the 30s. And he was like, what? He had to, after literally sleeping in the jail, he had to take the bus all the way back home to San Antonio and then go to school. He was devastated. His life's goal was for all of us to go to Hampton. And for me, I was like, Hampton ain't getting none of my money. Y'all know where I went. I went to University of Pittsburgh because it was free. And then I went to Cornell Law because it was darn near completely free. But I just say that to say this has been happening forever. So here's what this parent is going through. What the parent is going through is this particular HBCU has not paid out any of the Parent Plus loans. Okay. Now, there's two kinds of loans. There's the regular loan that covers like tuition. Parent Plus is the loan that's supposed to help with things like dorms, housing, tampons, like all of that extra stuff. that kind of stuff, right? And this story is not about Hampton. I'm going to say that. I'm just giving you an example of how this has been a prolific problem, and we got to work together to solve it, right? So this parent is saying they haven't paid out the Parent Plus loans. Here's what that means. And they're using the excuse of, oh, they have so many new students that the system's moving slow and there are glitches and blah, 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 blah. All right, we are in the month where we are in late September, we about to go into October. People have been in school for over a month. This means that for students to live off campus, they ain't got no money to pay their rent, their security deposit, any of the things. Car notes, all of that. This is what Parent Plus loans are for. A plus loan is a student loan. Yes, thank you, Cheryl, which is a part, I'm going to put that on the screen. A plus loan is a student loan, which is a part of the federal direct student loan program. It's offered to parents of students enrolled at least half-time or graduate students at participating, that's right, institutions, secondary institutions. The original, now absolute meaning is the parent, yes. So basically, this is what, after tuition is paid, this is what's supposed to go for extras. They kept all these people's money. So parents are now going broke because they all of a sudden have to pay first month's rent, second month's rent, security deposit, and monthly rent. This is now going to be the third months of rent because it's August, September, and now we've got October. Utilities, food, all of that they're having to pay out of pocket because the school has not administered and basically distributed these loans. This is one example. I have another example. I'm not going to say the school. There's a particular HBCU that I remember when I was in school, they offered a full ride plus $2,500 per semester. I think that number has gone up to like $5,000 for living expenses. It was full ride tuition, this and that, but the $2,500 was for living expenses. This is like 20 years ago, right? That was a great amount of money and a laptop. Every freaking semester, this school would play with people's money in that they would tell these students, I'm talking freshmen, they say, oh, your money won't be ready yet. You know what? This happens all the time. Just go in front of the student union, apply for one of those credit cards, put all your expenses on that, and then hopefully your $2,500 will be here by the end of the semester. That way you could just pay your credit card off. What? That's literally what financial aid and the workers in there were telling people. Order in the court. Absolutely not. So what I'm saying is this is something that like some people will tell you, oh, it just comes with going to an HBCU. What I'm saying is it doesn't have to. It doesn't have to. And we're going to talk about why. We're going to talk about what are the solutions, because all you just need a few people to stand up for what's right and what's wrong in order to effectuate change. If everybody just keeps tolerating it or just transfers, the problem doesn't get solved. In addition, last year, I was a professor. I was a professor at TSU Law. Baby, I've seen this firsthand. It took 2 months. I think it was 2 months for me to even get an email address. Excuse me, what? 2 months to get an email address. So here's what problem that creates. Because I didn't have a functioning email through the school, not only was it difficult corresponding with my students, which when you're in your last year of law school, my class was a third year class, the last thing you need is like difficulty with the basics because you're already stressed trying to study for the bar, all that stuff. But yep, Afrasing says it. Because I couldn't log in, I couldn't do attendance. Because I couldn't do attendance, it purged students from the rolls. Therefore, it then showed that they were no longer eligible for their financial aid. Are you kidding me? Because it showed that they were not signed up for the requisite minimum number of classes. And it wasn't just my class. It was 2 months. Yes, for 2 months, I could not get that. I could not get an email address. This is silly, goofy foolishness. So here are some solutions. If this happens to you, of course, number one, first, you got to start with financial aid. Are you going to contact the financial aid? You're going to contact them to directly engage with the financial aid office. Now, here's the problem. People will tell you stories about having to wait in line all day to only speak to someone at financial aid who can tell you there's nothing they can do. Also, if it's not in writing, it didn't happen. So I recommend using email and things like that to communicate with these people. If you're going to do phone calls, you need to record the calls and let them know, hey, I'm recording this this call for safety reasons, basically for contractual reasons. But you're going to contact them. You want to request in that email a written explanation of the delay. You want a written explanation for the delay, and you want to ask for a clear timeline for disbursement. And you want to keep detailed records of all of those communications. That's not going to work. I'm going to tell you, that's not going to work. It's not going to get you nowhere. In fact, I have a situation. I have a friend of mine was at Morehouse and was actually there on the Oprah scholarship. Oprah had donated millions to Morehouse at the time. And they were claiming that they never got his tuition check. So he had Oprah scholarship, and then there was a balance his family had to pay. He was pre-med. He was a senior. He had certain prerequisites he had to take in order to be able to start medical school in the fall. Do you know these people claimed that they didn't get his money, so they released him from all his classes because this was tuition related money. They released him from all his classes. He then went to his parents and was like, "Hey, what's going on? I got released. They said you didn't pay." His parents got a copy of the canceled check, faxed it to the financial aid. He then had to stand in line all day for like a third day, and brought a copy and said, "Hey, no, this is a copy of the check. We paid and y'all cashed it. You cashed it because you cashed it." They're gonna say, "Oh, I'm sorry. All right, what classes would you like to be in?" He said, "The ones I was enrolled in." They said, "Those are full." What? Oh no, he was about to toss some pens and pencils all over that room. He ended up having to sit down with the president of Morehouse. And basically, because I was like, you need to call Oprah, because I'm that homegirl. I'm a rock. I was like, I'm gonna find Oprah. This was like pre-social media. Because I would have been tagging Oprah, like, "Excuse me, Miss Winfrey. Excuse me, Miss Winfrey." But no, ultimately, it was only the president of the university that righted the wrong, which was putting him right back into those classes, because this is ridiculous. So I say this to say it's been happening forever. And merely contacting a lower level financial aid person probably isn't going to do much to help. But then the second thing you need to do is you want to escalate it to higher authorities within the school. So if financial aid is unresponsive, you need to escalate it to the higher administration, such as the dean of student services, or many people don't know about this, the Ombudsman. Ombudsman, I always say it wrong, but it's spelled Ombudsman. If you have ever had an issue on the job that was like health or safety or something like that, an ombudsman may have been assigned to look into the issue on behalf of workers. So ombudsmen are basically neutral third parties. So here's the thing. Many don't realize every school, like the FAFSA, the Federal Student Aid Department of the U.S. government, it has an ombudsman group. What that means is that if the school continues to delay or refuses to release your funds to you, you need to contact the FSA Ombudsman Group. It's a neutral third-party resource through the U.S. Department of Education that helps resolve disputes related to federal student loans. In other words, when the school is fucking with your money, when the school is messing with your money, you call them. Their phone number, and I'm going to put it on the screen for you guys. Their phone number is 877-577-2575. I got the email for y'all too. I'm going to put that in the chat, and then I'm going to pin it later. Put it in the chat, baby, because you got to go federal on this. You can't let these people play with your baby's money. You cannot let them play with your baby's money. Hold on, let me just do that again, because it needs a little space. Here we go. So it's not going to be all attached. And then we're going to pin that. Here, I'm going to put it on the screen for you. There we go. The phone number, this is for the Federal Student Aid, the FSA Ombudsman Group, is right here. 877-577-2575. And then that's their email. So them emails that the school gave you, where you ask them, explain the delay and explain when these funds will be ready and why, baby, you forward that right on up. You forward it right now, because we're not playing about it. We cannot play about children and their education anymore. Then that's not all. The next thing you can do is you want to file a complaint with the Department of Education. Here's the thing. Time is of the essence. These people playing with your money, and majority of the time, here's the problem. They have the money. They have the money. This is not they don't have the money. They have the money. It's a matter of them distributing the money to you. So when people have your money, you cannot, when they're like, okay, we're going to look into it. No, if they cannot say your money will be in the account the next business day, or 2 business days. Give them 3 if you're feeling real Christian. I don't know. Then you need to go ahead and file a complaint with the Department of Education. Okay. You can file a formal complaint against the school with the Department of Education. This then triggers an investigation into the school's practices concerning that type of loan. This is what you do. I don't care if it's a Parent Plus loan. I don't care if it's a Pell Grant. If it's the traditional student loans, the subsidized or unsubsidized. This is what you do when it relates to any government-backed student loan, period. Okay. You got to file a complaint with the Department of Education. It is free, honey. And when you do that, it triggers. Now, think about this. If all the parents that were going through this did the same thing around the same time, what happens is in the system trigger, poop, 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 poop. It's like, whoa, all of a sudden, this particular school has got 100 complaints filed by parents where all their money is missing. Oh, baby, they might send somebody down to that schoolhouse, honey. That money is going to get distributed. I guarantee. I guarantee. At a bare minimum, you want them to either distribute the money or not make you, not hold you responsible for any monies that you never received. The other thing you can do is there's 2 more steps. You got options. Now we got options, y'all. You can also request that the loan be sent directly to you. You don't let it be sent to that school no more. Now, every school is different. And in some cases, if the school is delaying disbursement, you can request the Parent Plus loan be sent directly to you from the feds, right? For your child's expenses. And this does depend on the school's policies and the agreement that you sign. You will need to look at the agreement. But also, if this happened this time, then the next year you can say, y'all not getting that money. Send that money to me because we can't trust you. Also, if the school is claiming, the issue is administering the money because we have so many more students and we're understaffed, cool. Let me take this load off of you. Send the money directly to me. Because the other thing that frequently happens with HBCUs is that because they're underfunded, they become understaffed. Now, that is a real and legitimate problem. And so what does actually help is if you file these complaints, they then have the ability to say, hey, they can go back to the states who are underfunding them, right? Like FAMU is frequently every year, Ron DeSantis underfunds them on purpose because he wants to take over FAMU and combine it with other Florida schools, right? He wants their success. Is when you do that, then the school is better able to say, look, we are showing you we're understaffed and we need you guys to approve funding for us to hire more in the financial aid department. We want to do more hiring so that we don't have these problems. But you can't simply say like, I want this school to do more without giving them money to do more. All right. Finally, yes, I said I cannot hear. Oh no, it's buffering. I hate to hear that. But finally, it says, you need to contact, you can contact the state education department in the state that the school is located. So not your state you live in, but wherever your child's school is located. Because most state agencies that oversee higher education have state agencies that oversee higher education institutions. They oversee the colleges. So you need to also file a formal complaint to that state, and then that state can promptly work to resolve that issue. Okay. So basically that is the state, and you can use the same complaint that you filed with the feds. So just to go through the steps, contact financial aid, escalate it within above financial aid. It could be with the dean of student services, the president of the university, or if the school has an ombudsman, that's OMBUS. OMBUDSMAN. The school has an ombudsman. You want to go to that ombudsman, okay? Then you want to go to the Federal Student Aid Ombudsman Group. I put the phone number on the screen previously. There you go. It's still there. You want to contact them. You want to call them and you want to email them. It's a neutral third-party resource through the Department of Education that resolves disputes related to federal student loans. And then also file a complaint with the Department of Education. Send that same, which is the Federal Department of Education, send that same complaint to the State Department of Education of the state where your kid is in school. And then, of course, you want to request that loan be sent directly to you because you're not about to play with these people no more. no more. Um, let me see. Yes, children should not need to deal with this. Yeah, after the government absolutely plays with HBCUs. So I'm very clear. Like this is not this is a systemic issue. It's not just HBCs are being lazy. HBCUs are being lazy. No, no, no. This is an institutional issue that all comes down to issues with federal and state funding. Um, Sandra McGee said, wait, Nurse Mo said, I can't believe this is going on. I've been out of school for almost 20 years. Yes, unfortunately it is. And then it says, Sandra McGee said, that's facts. Someone in financial aid told me if I send in a money order to her, she would wipe it clean. She wanted half of that. I didn't do that. Girl. Oh, that's the kind of whistleblowing. The feds have another law. So if you knew of this happening, right, you could drop a dime on that person. You could be a whistleblower because the feds have a law. And this is for tax fraud. This is Medicare fraud, insurance fraud, any kind of fraud that impacts money that's supposed to, that's dealing with the federal government. If they are able to catch the fraud and recoup money that belongs or is anyway associated with the government, you get 30% as a reward. So if this was a thing that more than likely this person was doing throughout the university, yes, girl, you could have got 30%. All right, it says, Cheryl says, parents, please take proactive steps to ensure your children can focus solely on their learning. Yes, after the government really does play with HBCUs. Dr. Nicole Brown says years later, we got phone calls about defaulting on the Perkins loans and that we were responsible for it. They told us we all had the same story about the loan. Oh my gosh. That's wild. Oh, it says, okay, let me start at the beginning. It says, I went to ASU for 2 years before transferring. I was an out-of-state student. In my first year, unbeknownst to my classmates and me, we were all signed up for Perkins loans. Years later, we got phone calls about defaulting on them, and we were responsible for it. They told us we all had the same story about the loan. My friend probably could not start her job at TSA because of the loan. The loan officer at ASU went to prison. So that's the thing, guys. We're going to catch these things now before it gets that bad. All right, hit that like. We've got 194 watching or 100 some watching. Let's get those likes up, guys. Naomi said, I grew up in group homes. I called the Ombudsman's office all the time. Well, get it, girl. Get it. Thank you, Simone. Many students spend their entire first year grappling with these kinds of issues. Stylesby said, this is absurd. Let me tell you, I really, really, really wanted to go to Howard for undergrad. Now, I had a full ride that was given to me from Pitt, but Howard has sent me a letter that said, hey, if you apply, you can get at least full tuition. I was like, cool. I was so excited because I would have rather went to Howard any day, right? I get ready to send that off. I look at the thing. They mailed it to me October 15th. The deadline was October 1st. They sent it to me after I said, oh no, this is part of those stories that I've heard about for years about HBCUs, about there being a delay in the execution. I said, I can't. I said, no, if we already got trouble before I even started there. Fast forward, I wanted to go to Howard for law school. Y'all, let me tell you this. I wanted to go to Howard Law. There we go. And I was so excited. I got a full tuition scholarship to Howard Law. Ooh, baby, you couldn't tell me nothing. So then I was like, okay, I called the school. I said, okay, what do I have to earn, like grade wise, to stay or to keep my scholarship? They say, you got to be in good, you got to stay in the top 10%. I said, well, how many students is it? They said 150. I said, God damn, I got to be number 1 through 15. They were like, I said, what happens if I'm not? They said, well, you're going to lose your money like accordingly. I was like, oh my God, this is so stressful. I called Cornell and I said, well, Cornell was giving me 75%, almost 80%. And I said, well, what do I have to keep as a GPA to keep this money? They said, you got to be in good standing. I said, well, what is that? They said, we don't know. We never had nobody not be in good standing. I said, I'll take it. But more than that, with the Howard scholarship, I had a friend I graduated with from college, and she was on it. So I said, what's your thoughts? These are my 2 options. I still have to pay a little something for Cornell. She was like, don't come here. I said, why? She said, because they trick you. They offer you a full ride, but it's really not full. She told me, She gets to class, like she moves to DC, gets her apartment, all that situated. She calls a week before class starts to say, hey, just want to make sure everything's all set and I'm ready for class, in a week and a half. They said, oh yes, you're fine. You just owe us $1,500. She said, oh no, I'm here on full ride. They were like, yeah, but your scholarship was based on last year's tuition. It's gone up 1,500. So you're gonna have to give us $1,500. Girl, what? She had to come up in a week and a half with $1,500. Let me tell you, the way I would be selling foot pics on OnlyFans, you would get some foot, you would get some elbow. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Um, Hold on. Afra says, I'm pissed. I have worked in nonprofit over 10 years, but not currently. So now you can't get the loan forgiveness. I don't believe that that's true. That's not true. It's not where you currently work. It's whether or not you have those. You have to go to your old jobs and you have to get your old jobs to sign up on the years. I don't believe that that's true anymore. In fact, I helped someone recently with this specific issue. They were at a private company. They had moved and they got theirs forgiven. So double check that. Yep. Melanie said it's almost October and these babies do not have their money. So again, guys, if you want to book a consultation with me anywhere in the United States, I handle legal consultations where we talk about strategy to resolve your private legal matter. It is go to SimoneRedwine.com to book one that starts at $149 for half an hour. All right, guys, let me just see if there are any final questions. Thanks for speaking about this. It'll help the next generation. Thank you. Yes, Jay Thompson told her I would apply anyway because you have proof that you met those past requirements, or you get a part-time job at a nonprofit and apply. That's true. That could work too. Yes. Yes, putting elbow pics. That sure would. Oh, really? Yes. Oh no, you absolutely have to. Okay, if y'all watch my friend Really BTV, she has been a school teacher for a long time, and I was harassing her because she's taught for over 20 years. I said, why are you still paying loans? She's like, well, there's this. Nope. I watched her, talked her through the process because she had been told, no, no, no. This girl got hundreds of, I won't say hundreds, but she got over five figures worth of money. Yes, over five figures worth of money forgiven and was just going to keep paying it. She had been qualified, but didn't know. So she submitted the paperwork as required, blah, blah, blah. So you definitely want to do that. All right, guys, thank you so much for joining this week's edition of Sunday Service. And remember, if you've got a legal issue, feel free to go to my website, SimoneRedwine.com, to book private time with me. This is your legal bestie. Have a blessed day.